Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Teach Me in 10. I'm really excited about the episode today. We're actually joined by our friend Ben Ard. So, first of all, welcome, Ben, to the show. I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
Well, Ben, and I just give everyone a little bit of context. I met Ben, I don't know, a few years ago, and we keep running into each other at a bunch of events. And Ben is on the forefront of a lot of, he's very passionate about content, which you'll hear on the episode today. But he's also on the forefront of leveraging AI. And he and I have been chatting about different perspectives on AI and how marketers are either embracing it or afraid of it or somewhere in between. We're stoked to have Ben on the episode today. But Ben, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about who you are and maybe a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Ben, father of 4 boys, and love chaos that comes with a crazy family and all that kind of stuff. And my wife and I, love that whole journey. But I've been marketing for about 17 years now. Started out on the agency side and then went to in-house marketing. Eventually was at a tech company and really love that kind of adventure to see a company grow from I joined after Series A funding and got to see it grow and go public and all that kind of fun stuff. And so after that, I said, hey, I love that ride. I'm going to go start my own company. So I went and started a SaaS company over 3 years ago. And the company is called Masset, and we really just focus on, we built a unified content library. Businesses will store their content in like Google Drive, and that's kind of where content goes to die. Like nobody can find it or use it, or there's no analytics and all that kind of stuff. So we built a solution there, and we're building AI on top of it to help people kind of interface and find the content, use it, build it, track it, proactive and on demand and all sorts of cool stuff. And I'm obsessed with storytelling, books, all that kind of fun stuff. Like that's just my world. And so I'm happy to have any opportunity to talk about it.
It's awesome. Well, I appreciate you again jumping on. Yeah, I think most marketers can relate to the question of, don't we have a piece of content that talks about this? Or I've got a prospect on the phone asking about this. Where can I find it? So yeah, if you guys get a chance, we'll have Ben do a plug here at the end where they can find out a little more information about that. But his technology and platform is very, very cool. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, highly recommend it. What are you going to teach us today, man? What are we going to learn about?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm obsessed with content and stories and all of it. And with AI, it's a little crazy right now because the internet is being flooded with all sorts of new material. I did this study kind of on my own. I used AI to help me do it. But my prediction was by the end of next year, there's a 260x increase in the amount of published content on the internet. And that is a flood. That is insane. And anyone that hears that, they're thinking, well, how do I make my content stand out? How do I utilize this? What do I do? Where do I go? Or am I just going to have to admit and have AI write me crappy content and be a part of this nastiness? And so I love teaching people what I think content writing looks like and should be in today and moving forward so that you can stand out, so you can look and feel different, but not run away from AI, but use it in the right way so that people still get value out of your content. So that's what we're going to talk about, and I'd love to kind of dive into.
Let's do it. I love it. Yeah, I'd love to hear too. Yeah, I think there's different marketers in different camps. We were talking about this before we hit the record button, but you have marketers on the full spectrum, which is, and understandably so, you have people that are afraid of it, that think that it's going to come and take their jobs. You have those that are completely resistant to it, that think it's a flash in the pan. And, then you have those that are fully embracing it, but they're using it probably, they're getting away from the marketing craft itself and just doing the things. And so I think, yeah, it'll be a good conversation today. I'd love to get your perspective on kind of what you're seeing out there in the landscape as well, too. But yeah, let's get to it. I love it.
All right, we'll dive in.
Okay.
So first and foremost, when I look at content, it's about storytelling. That's where it is at its core. You can never leave that behind. You have to remember that. And so if you're using AI or writing it yourself, it's about a story. It's about something, and you're walking people through the emotions of it. You're educating them. And what comes with stories is a unique point of view. So this is one of those things. If you generically have AI write content, it does not have a point of view. It has a regurgitation of a lot of other people's point of views, but it doesn't have a unique perspective in the stance because AI frankly doesn't care about what you care about the same way. So no matter what you do when you're writing content, make sure that there's a clear point of view. Doesn't matter what you're writing, what you're doing, what content you're producing. If you can't say, what is the author's point of view? What are they trying to convince me about? You're off mark and you need to go back to the drawing board. One of the coolest ways to do that, though, is to have an actual conversation just like we're having today. Because Jordan, I'm sure you're going to use Riverside. You're going to take this transcript and you're going to turn it and repurpose it and all that fun stuff. And the content will be pretty good because it came from a human conversation. And it's got our unique perspectives and our point of view. And AI will adopt our specific information and translate that and basically write it for us. And that is okay. That's, in my opinion, it's really, really good. A human has to be involved in one of two ways for content writing. Either you're the source that AI writes from, or you're the one who edits the AI material off of the beginning and you put the point of view after. You have to have one of two things. Otherwise, your content sucks, in my opinion. Now, another cool thing that I want to talk about and get like really tactical about. So have a point of view, tell a story, try to always start with a human conversation. That's my standard default stuff when it comes to AI. And I'm not going to go into details about like getting rid of M dashes and all that kind of stuff. That's just trying to kind of like look clever and stuff. But really, one of the things is when you look at search results, a lot of people are looking at SEO and large language model search and all of that fun stuff. One thing that I talked to someone about that they're on the very cutting edge of is AI is phenomenal at writing software. And what they are doing is they have found a way to make their content more than content. And what I mean by that is if you have a question in an LLM and it can respond with an answer, that is just content. But what they've done is they've turned their content into an experience. And I think everyone needs to think about this. So they took my strategy a step well beyond. So one thing that I think is really cool, like go look at VO3 for Google. And if you haven't tried a prompt with VO3 to create a video, it is insane. It's so cool. You have like Yetis that are vlogging and all sorts of stuff. It does audio and video and it looks amazing. When you write content, throw some of that material into it. Every section could have its own video or animated GIF or some kind of imagery that plays a role. Or, if you even just do screenshots, like add multimedia into your article to add value, because that's something that AI is not going to do a great job of like pulling that stuff in. It's going to say, hey, like it's really best if you go to the website and search results are going to push you there. But the next thing is using AI to do this vibe coding software. So this individual, they have this whole library of content. And I feel comfortable sharing this because they shared it on my podcast. But they went in and they used tools like Embeddable or Blink or Lovable or Replit. Those are all of the kind of vibe coding platforms. Embeddable is kind of intriguing because it's meant to just embed software on your site. So you just copy the embed code and throw it into your Webflow or something. But they're making interactive apps for their content. So if your content's talking about like how to do better with SEO, like they're embedding an actual like widget into that piece of content where you can post your URL and it'll tell you how to make it rank better. Or if you're looking at cost calculators or who knows what, like I even vibe coded games into my content where like you could have dropping the blocks or Pong or all that kind of stuff, but it was all tailored to the specific content. That I think is what really needs to happen for people to stand out and to drive search results on traditional platforms where your content can't just go to a chat inside of ChatGPT. Your content is an experience. And so you have to have that experience on your website because the LLM can't bring that into its own thing. So that was a long-winded response, but like that's kind of where I'm thinking about content and kind of turning it into experience. And I'm sure people have like a million ideas on top of that. But I think it's more than just the copy. I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I love the idea. I mean, it definitely is a hybrid approach, right? Where to your point, you can't just rely on ChatGPT or AI to do all of the content creation. I think that's what's going to give us our unique competitive advantage, I think, is the fact that we are human. And so the more that we can have a differentiated perspective and we can share our own experiences, but then we use AI to kind of augment and improve that or whatever. What's interesting, what's your take on this? Because a lot of times I'm having conversations with either people on my own team or clients. And the question is always like, whenever there's a piece of content that we're looking at, the question is always, oh, did you use AI to create this? Or like, it almost feels like that's being set up as like, did you cheat? Like, are you cheating? Like, and so is that always going to be a thing? Is that okay to do? Like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
If I look at a piece of content and it feels like AI wrote it, I skip it like an ad. And that's my gut reaction. I think that's kind of what you're referring to. It's because it feels inauthentic and it feels like it's not something that's worth my time. Again, in a sea of a million spam emails that I'm getting and all the crappy LinkedIn posts in my feed and all of that kind of stuff, I don't have time to read that kind of stuff. AI will not sound like AI if you have a human source for it, for the most part. It might, and you need to train it better to use your voice better. But if it sounds like AI wrote it, it immediately makes it inauthentic, in my opinion. It's just, you have to have a human in the loop more, that it can't feel like an AI. It's, ghostwriters take, a long time to figure out how to write for someone. But as soon as someone feels like a ghostwriter wrote something for someone, they don't care about it. It's about people. And what's also interesting is there's this trend where companies aren't posting content. It is the people that work at the companies that are posting content. They're on videos, they're writing things, they're telling their stories. That content feels authentic and it feels real. And that kind of stands out. And that's why there's a movement there. And so that's my take. If it sounds like AI, trash it. Like, nobody wants to read that. Even if it's gold, nobody will read it because they think it's inauthentic.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Yep, I completely agree with that. Are you, so you obviously have your own podcast. You leverage content in every way, shape, and form. Are there any tools that you're using that you feel like everyone should know about, or that everyone should be using if they're not? You mentioned VO3. What else should people be using that they're not?
Yeah, 100%. So when it comes to content, I love Riverside. That's probably the platform we're recording on Riverside right now. It is one of the best platforms to edit content and video. It uses AI in the editing process, and also the transcripts are amazing. Like, AI transcripts from video content is one of the coolest technologies ever. I mean, especially if you ever, back in the day, I was writing transcripts for YouTube videos in real time, and it took forever. It takes like 3x the time of the video. So Riverside is a tool I would always like. It's cheap. It's great. You should record everything on Riverside. Embeddable, Replit, all those ones that I kind of mentioned before. If you're looking at coding stuff, ChatGPT is my favorite platform that I use all the time. Have a Plus subscription. I'm on a team subscription for our company, things like that. Those are the main ones. VO3 is the biggest one when it comes to video. Midjourney is great for imagery, but I feel like ChatGPT competes now. So I typically focus there. I think Sora is garbage compared to VO3 at this point in time, but I'm hoping it catches up at some point in time. Those are kind of the main ones that I would focus on and that I really care about, that I use on a very regular basis. I mean, I'm looking at my tab bar right now for Chrome, and those are the main tools that use AI.
Got it. I love hearing about what people are actually using, because there's so many tools that are popping up constantly. And it's like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? But I think the biggest thing that I've been working with lately is like that vibe coding concept. So one of our clients is bolt.new. So it's phenomenal. It's crazy. It feels like, as a marketer, like, we have an idea now, and instead of it just being an idea that kind of dies, where you're like, oh, if I had a developer that could just at least create a prototype or something like that, I think those days are gone. So now you actually you don't have to know how to code, but it's incredible. You can actually bring stuff to life and get it to the point where it's a real life functioning product. So, man, I think there's just a ton of opportunities. I was on a phone call, and I don't actually believe this, but I was on a call before this one, and it was with a developer, and he has the take that all developers are going to be out of jobs in the next 6 months, and that, robots are going to be controlling the world, and it's going to be full on Terminator 2. I don't think it's going to quite be like that, but I do think it's important to stay on top of the trends and just make sure that, to your point, there's the human element. And I guess that actually brings me to my next question is, what would you say to a marketer that's out there listening that is hesitant to embrace AI? Or, they're afraid that it's going to replace what they do, because right now, maybe they're a content writer and they're, seeing a lot of their work being minimized because it's like, well, can't I just create that with ChatGPT? What would you say to someone who is in that position or in that boat?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, just to kind of take one step back to your previous comment, I actually tested bolt.new, and that's a fun one. And I saw a cool video about that. So that's a cool platform. I don't think developers are going anywhere. I mean, having gone through SOC 2 recently, like, I am grateful for a co-founder who knows what he's doing, because I'm certain vibe coding is not going to cut it when it comes to that. And if there's an error and you don't know what the code looks like and you got to fix it, that's a bad place to be at. I think it's very much the same thing as, I have to be a good writer to be able to use AI to get the value out of it. I don't think, and I spoke at a conference about what you shouldn't use AI for once. And one of the big things is if you don't know what the outcome should look like, you probably shouldn't be the one prompting AI to give you that outcome. So for content writers, your job's not in jeopardy. It's just going to look completely different. And if you run away from AI, that's when you're going to have a hard time finding a job. But it's going to come down to the fact that you're going to have to go and interview people. You're going to have to come up with that unique point of view, the strategic vision, train the AI. AI is probably going to do a lot of the writing for you, and that's perfectly okay. But you're going to have the trained eye to know what the output should look like. And that's how you're going to get AI to produce good results. Same thing with the developer. We use AI code stuff in our product 100%. But if I were going and building features into our product with that AI stuff, that would be bad news, very bad news. But with my co-founder, who's been a developer for 20 years or somewhere close to that, it's great. It's an advantage in something like that. We're not at the point where, you need to know the outcome. The same thing with a lawyer. Don't be afraid of AI, but utilize it. Gonna need to check everything. You're gonna need to use it. And what something, your reports and your cases and the emotional side of things. AI is not gonna replace you anytime soon. But if you don't know how to use the tool sets, people are just going to be 10 times more efficient than you are.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. Well, Ben, this has been super helpful. Where can people find out more about your company? Where can they find out more about you?
Yep. I'm on LinkedIn more often than I should be. I think it's just like /Benjamin Ard, ARD. And our website is Masset, MASSET.ai. And that will take you there. And we're doing some fun stuff with AI bots and agents and all sorts of stuff with content. And feel free to check it out.
Very cool. Yeah, Ben shared a couple of just sneak peeks. They've got some really cool stuff in the works. So absolutely recommend you guys checking that out. So Ben, thank you again, my friend. I appreciate you teaching us today. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. Take care.